I'm sure many of you over the past couple of days have become very much aware of District Attorney Andrew Womble's, if you will, and very much a very combatant and prejudicial demonstration of his explanation of his reasons why he's not going to indict the 3 Elizabeth City police officers who fatally shot and killed Andrew Brown back in April of last year. And this has been in the news. CNN has been covering it like the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, almost to the point where they covered the George Floyd. And it appeared that the district attorney, in some ways, put up a defense of the police rather than a defense of justice in this regard. However, I think that if he crossed the line at any point, it wasn't in his presentation of stating that the police officers were justified. It may have been when he gave prejudicial information about the background of Andrew Brown having been arrested on several other criminal charges in the past. I don't think that was appropriate for that particular hearing and press conference held on yesterday. But I want to raise the question, what if Andrew Brown, when told by the police officer for Elizabeth City to get out of his car, that BMW, that blue BMW, he was told to get out of his car, and when the police officer went and put his hand on the door handle to take him out of the car, what if he had just gotten out of the car with his hands up, put him behind his back and said, "Take me to the Popo station"? We wouldn't know his name, I don't think. We wouldn't know anything about him. What if that had happened? And let me ask you a question. We know from the sketchy and edited version of the video that he didn't get out of the car, that he backed it up and then put it back in drive and tried to escape. We know that, whether the version of what we saw in the video was actually compiled the appropriate way, but it appears that he did try to escape. But what if he had not tried to escape? What do you think would have happened? You're pretty smart. Would have taken him to the police station? Maybe they would have beat him in the police station. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they would have taken the drugs he had on him and taken a snort of cocaine themselves. I'm not impugning the integrity of the police officers, say that they would have done that. Maybe had a bunch of money in that BMW. I don't know. My guess is that Andrew Brown would still be alive today. Let me ask you another question. What about Michael Brown, since we're into the Browns? What was that, in Ferguson, Missouri? Yeah, Michael Brown, accosted by a police officer many years ago after robbing a small store there in Ferguson of some cigars and walking down the middle of the street. What if Michael Brown, when the police officer told him, "Don't walk in the sidewalk, on the street rather, get up on the sidewalk," and he just complied with what the police officer said and gone on about his business? What if the Toledo boy out there in Chicago, 13-year-old, right, shot down by the police in Chicago a month or so ago? What if he, when he was told, "Stop, drop the gun," has frozen, dropped the gun right there when the police officer first gave the command? Do you think we know anything about him? Think he'd still be alive today? I'll go you one further. What about George Floyd? What if he had not resisted arrest, claiming that he was claustrophobic and that he couldn't sit in the back seat? What if he had just said, let me let my claustrophobia get this better than having a bullet put in my head, and just got in the back seat? What if he had done that? What if he had done that? Do you think we'd know his name? This is a little bit painful. I know Tamir Rice had a gun. What if Tamir Rice had been instructed, "Listen, it's dangerous out there in these streets, young boy. Do not be playing with guns, even though they're not real ones. The days of Roy Rogers and all that long range stuff, you can't be out there in the street with guns like that." What if any of these incidents? What if the fellow down in Florida had not ran from the police officer? What if when the police officer had told any of these persons to drop the gun and don't run? You know, I've been around. I've said I've been black all my life. I want to upgrade my cliches. I've been around black folk all my life. It hasn't been pleasant. I can tell you that right now. But I can tell you what the response is to black people to what I've just. What if any of these persons had? If Andrew Brown had just gotten out the car, if Michael Brown had just gotten up on the sidewalk, if the Toledo boy had just dropped the gun and not run, I tell you what black folks say. Police brutality, racism, hatred. But no, brother. I'm asking you a question. If Andrew Brown had gotten out that car in Elizabeth City and put his hands in the air, do you think they would have shot him anyway? God, now, come on. You know they would not have. They would have taken him to jail. And we wouldn't know anything about him. What if George Floyd had decided, well, I'm claustrophobic, but, you know, I got to get this police car and hopefully make it to the jailhouse? We wouldn't know his name. We wouldn't. But that's not the reason. That kind of a reasonable process. Now, I want you to listen very carefully. It'll be very painful. That kind of reasonable process does not exist in 99.9% of the Hamite. They're black. That's what they call themselves, mine. You see, that same kind of process, that same kind of reasonable says, you know, Pastor, you're right. You know, drop the gun, don't run, and you'll live. They don't see that. They only see what took place when he didn't drop the gun and did run. It is absolutely impossible for them to cognitively to recognize that you brought this on yourself. They can't see that. The same way, and this is serious. This is serious psychological problems here. This is serious. That I'm not joking. I'm not being smart or satirical. This is serious. Black people don't see that. They don't see that the man would have lived. Andrew Brown would be alive. So would George Floyd. So would Michael Brown. So would Trayvon Martin be alive today had they not resisted. They don't see that. And it isn't, that's one thing. And it's just a few people die that way. But really, I've been around black people all my life. They don't see the fact that they don't understand the process of developing neighborhoods, developing economic structure. They don't see the fact that you shouldn't run off and leave your children. They don't understand the process. They really, really don't understand it. They don't understand to take a ghetto and make it a beautiful neighborhood. They don't understand. They truly do not have the cognitive abilities. They really don't. And when you try to explain it, it frustrates them, and their frustration turns to anger, and then their anger turns to violence. But forget about the police shootings. Forget about that. Think of the fact that they shoot each other. They don't understand that you shouldn't do that. You're a 17-year-old boy and a 35-year-old man in the ghetto with a cognitive problem. He doesn't understand. He shouldn't shoot his brother. He shouldn't devalue his life. He shouldn't shoot indiscriminately at babies and children in the hood. He doesn't understand that. I before God, I'm telling you what the Lord loves. The black man, the Hamite man, he really has a cognitive disruption. He doesn't understand he's not supposed to do that. He doesn't understand. For him, the shootings of police is one thing, but they shoot each other. They don't build strong economic-based communities. They don't build strong alliance. And he doesn't understand that he doesn't do that. When his community fails economically, he blames the white man for what he did not do. When the police shoot him for running with a gun in his hand, they all jump up and one accord, from the Harvard professors down to the jailhouse junkies, they all blame the police, when you should give the responsibility to the man and tell him, don't run. Drop the damn gun and don't run. I'm telling you, You have to understand, this is a major psychological dilemma. He doesn't understand. He shouldn't shoot his brother. He doesn't understand that he should build great neighborhoods and development. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't. He says the white man is racist. He says the white man is racist, where the Mexicans can come here, cross the border, walk 1,500 miles from Guatemala, from El Salvador, get a job picking tomatoes, and in the next 2 years be selling him things from a store he developed in the black man's neighborhood. He doesn't understand. I swear before God and 7 angels, the black man, he doesn't understand. His mind fuses out. He can only say, they killed Andrew Brown, they killed George Floyd. He doesn't understand that you should drop the gun and don't run, damn it. Cognitively, that doesn't compute for him. Now, that's a way that's quite grievous, but that's the least of the black man's problem, getting shot by the police. That's the least. He has a greater chance of being shot by his brother than he has by the damn police, but he doesn't understand that either. He doesn't. No, I'm telling you, he doesn't. He had Harlem, I swear. He had Harlem. And he gave it away. And he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the dynamics of the social understanding of the rest of the universe. He's got a problem, and he thinks I'm crazy. Drop the gun, don't run. You'll live to go to jail another day. So everybody's all up in arms. One other thing, if you don't mind, and I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. This is a serious psychological problem. I think that the universities, starting in the schools, should start courses on helping to plow through the cognitive dissonance issues that the Hamite person has, as if he's got sickle cell anemia, because he really doesn't understand. He shouldn't kill each other like that. He shouldn't shoot his brother like that. There shouldn't be the kind of murders that are going on in Chicago or in Watts or in Harlem that he has done over the years to his brother. That doesn't make any sense, to devalue life that way, or to devalue his children, not support his children, or not build a strong economic base, and blaming white folk for everything that's wrong, such as when I run, the police shoot me, I blame him for killing me. He doesn't really understand. So there needs to be, that someone's suggested the education system in America that to combat this, we need to come up with a level of teaching directly directed at the Hamite brother, because he's limited in his understanding, and you can't blame him. He just doesn't understand. And by the way, this isn't just for the homeless, if you will, the hustler, the low income, the uneducated black man. This is the same thing for those guys that graduate from Harvard, the one that graduate with PhDs and MDs. Cognitively, they got the same problem. They've got the same sickle cell brain problem. Just because they got a medical degree or a law degree doesn't make them better equipped to understand this process. It is a generic, it's a gene problem. I've been around black people all my damn life. It's a gene problem. And it needs to be addressed medically and education-wise to try to find a vaccine out of this. Otherwise, the police are going to shoot somebody black today because they're going to run tomorrow. Not just that, but a massive program to educate ought to be set up. And then I would suggest that, you would set up a fund for attorneys. If you can't help him to understand cognitively, don't run, man. Drop the gun when the police tell you to drop the gun, and don't run, homie. Don't do it. If you do that and you get arrested, there'll be a national fund of attorneys that will come to check the viability of getting you out of jail, because you, at the very least, you followed the instructions of humanity, of the rest of the University of Humanity. You dropped the gun. You didn't run. You don't have to get a public defender. There will be a fund of money set up to hire attorneys that will come and will hear your case and potentially try to represent you to get you out of whatever dilemma you're in. Now, if you committed crime, sold drugs, raped and robbed, you might go to jail for that. But on the softer end of it, the fact you got arrested, and sometimes the arrest is bogus, will get you out. But don't run. Drop the damn gun. Don't run. Drop the damn gun and don't run. And it become nationally known in every state and every hamlet and every town and to every Hamite man. If you don't run, you drop the gun, you get arrested, immediately within 2 hours, there'll be an attorney like the AAA or somebody, or like the AARP will be right there to represent you. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm serious as cancer. If we did those two things, we could see the repopulation of the Hamite man on planet Earth and the re-education of him. And, potentially after a generation or two, he might become gene-free of this cognitive problem that he has. I swear, because it don't make no sense. Andrew Brown, the police said, get out the car. Listen, man, they had an AR-15 pointed at him. Did you know that? I'm wondering what the hell the police doing with an AR-15 in the first place. But they had an AR-15 pointed. You can't drive. Them BMWs are they are the ultimate driving machine. They are some bad mamma jammers, those BMWs. But I swear they cannot outrun an AR-15 bullet. You just can't outrun a bullet with a BMW. You can't do it, brother. You can't get the hell out the car. Get out the car. They got Glock 17 surrounding you, man. One other thing. I would think that going forward, until this can be fully implemented, there should be a national, if you will, statement that Al Sharpton is barred from showing up in any of these funerals and pimping these poor. I would counsel people as a pastor, your loved one dies, you go to the funeral home, that boy going to take you, going to rip you off. He going to sell you the most expensive piece of wood he got in there. He going to tell you, now this casket costs $7,000, but it doesn't have the bars on the side of it. And when it locks, it only has 2 locks. But now we've got one over here that costs $10,000. It has the bars where the pallbearers can carry it, and it has 3 locks. Now, if you don't like that one, we got one for actually $14,000 that has absolute silver and gold plating on the side of that. Now, which one do you want? All of them are cheap as hell. Neither one ain't gonna do the dead person any good. But they rip you off. These funeral pros, some of them, and then maybe not all, but Al Sharpton, there needs to be a national prohibition that Al Sharpton cannot speak at any funerals of anybody under any circumstances related to Hamite or a racial death. He can't speak. The man is just promoting. He goes there and when Al Sharpton finished preaching, the people who leave the funeral, the young boys who leave the funeral in the church, gonna get shot in the next 2 hours after Al Sharpton stirs them up and then makes more money. There needs to be a prohibition against Al Sharpton intervening in any other incident of black people, police, civil rights, any other way. There need to be a prohibition. Al Sharpton has been banned from any activity. Guess what? I'll allow Ben Crump to continue. I will. I will allow Ben Crump to continue. At least he's a bona fide registered attorney. Al Sharpton's a drug dealer. Al Sharpton's a convicted drug. Al Sharpton is a snitch, recognized snitch by the FBI. Al Sharpton's a snitch. He ain't got no business preaching over a situation where he makes money hand over fist. CNN. I said I only had one final thing, but I can't let that racist, if you will, that racist propaganda fake news organization called CNN, who has made billions of dollars on the death of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, you name them. CNN will probably filing for bankruptcy if it were not for these police shootings. So there ought to be a ban on them as well. They should not be allowed. Well, I can't say the freedom of the press. I'm not going to go against freedom of the press, but you get the idea. Here, I've been around black people all my life. My brother, drop the gun and don't run, and you'll live to go to jail another day. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.